Welcome to Momentum Mode. My name's Corey Farringle, and you'll hear me alongside my co-host Mike Shannon shortly. This episode will feature an interview with Amanda Lannert, a seasoned executive and is the longtime CEO of Jellyvision, a company recognized as a great place to work for many years. We're going to cover a wide range of topics, including growing the company, teams, team culture, managing boards of directors, as well as evolution of leadership in a fast-growing organization. But before we jump in, we'd like to thank our sponsor, Kilpatrick, Townsend & Stockton, an innovative, focused law firm with 22 offices around the world, including our hometown of Chicago. Also thank to Mike's company Improve and Corey's company Aperion Ventures for their support of the pod. On with the episode. And today we're joined by Amanda Lannert, who has joined us before. Amanda, longtime CEO of Jellyvision, active investor, board member, advisor to a number of companies. And your company, Jellyvision, is known for its culture. You've won awards for culture, best place for millennials to work in the city. And I guess let's explore that today. Let's start with, what do you do intentionally to drive culture?
So let's define culture, right? How do you guys, when you say culture, what do you really mean?
Ooh, I think of the experience and kind of collective mentality of this organism, which is the company.
Yeah, how people view the company, how they view themselves, how they behave, and how they see about getting their work done.
Yeah, I think it's less ideas and it's more people and behaviors.
Yes.
It's those two gating things. So I was very, very impacted by a Maya Angelou quote that said, people won't remember what you did. They won't remember what you said. They only will remember how you made them feel. And so a lot of what we do is not just UX and what is the user thinking. It's what is the recruiting candidate thinking? What is the employee who's got 18 months of tenure thinking? What are you thinking? What are you feeling? And how can we meet you where you are? And I'll give you a really simple, dumb example of what everyone should do, but Jellyvision is one of the first companies I've heard about to do it. In the recruiting process, we give you an offer letter. We ask you to sign it, submit it, and that is you giving us your commitment that you're going to join Jellyvision. The second a recruiter has the acceptance signed, everyone who interviewed with that person or met that person is sent an email being like, candidate is in, go. And you get like 8 to 10 emails from people you met being like, we are so excited. So what could be a moment of anxiety? I just signed the mortgage. I hope I didn't make a mistake. Right away, we're like in the moment of where you might be nervous, like you did it. It's people.
No
we're
buyer's
excited.
remorse.
Yeah, it's just like in that moment of like, ooh, I hope it's okay. You're like, it's going to be great. I'm this person, starting to humanize. And so I think Jellyvision has been very successful in bringing in people who are caring and will be outside of themselves and will think about others. And then what we do is kind of creative. So 20% of the company happen to be professional grade musicians or stand-up comedians or like there's some
Jellyvision
kind of
band,
that going on.
Stand-up comedians.
But I think ultimately it comes down to our mission, our purpose. It's bigger than a mission. It's a purpose, is to be helpful. And that came up because I said, we're starting to scale. We have, millions of dollars in revenue. We have to have a mission statement. And I kept trying to write these long anthemic things. And everyone's like, it's too long. It's not right. It's not right. And finally, our chief creative officer at the time, Allard, who in fact has a beard, stroked his beard and said, you're working this too hard. Let's not do a mission statement. Let's do like a mantra. What's the beat? What's the pulse that guides our decision making? And I was like, it's easy. It's be helpful. And he's like, there you go. And not only has it stuck and galvanized in a way, none of the mission statements I ever would have ever been remembered. It's actually not as milquetoast as it first seems. You're like, be helpful. First of all, to be helpful, you have to care about someone besides yourself.
Yep.
It's fundamentally external facing. Second, to really be helpful, you have to have wisdom. You have to be able to solve a problem. You have to have some kind of like knowledge that is worthy. And third, there's a bias towards action. Being helpful is a to-do, not a cerebral sit and think. It's
I'm going to send
action.
you an email later isn't being helpful.
It's it. So you throw that in and you throw in, we're curating experiences where we care about how people feel.
Yep.
Our mission is like from furrowed brow to peace of mind.
Yep.
Like it's like everything. Like we talk about responsiveness. Like you have to be responsive to customers. Why? Because it's good for business. It's not how we talk about it. We say because it makes them feel important.
Yep.
The difference between an email, hey, I got this, I'll get back to you on Wednesday, versus getting back to them on Wednesday is the psychological feeling of that partner thinks I matter. They jumped right on it. You didn't jump right on it. You spent 30 seconds being like, I've got this. I'm
the
on it.
The acknowledgement
That's
matters.
just all I'm saying. To acknowledge. You don't have to throw everything you're working on away all the time, but like that responsiveness, it makes them go, phew. You're
Well,
taking
these
care
words
of
you
me.
just said, from furrowed brow to peace of mind, I like feel that as you say it. Is that part of the mantra? Did you just come up with that just now?
It's absolutely, we say,
Okay.
we go to where there's furrowed brow. Where
Okay.
people are trying to do something complicated and boring.
Real quick,
but
give a quick
important.
background on what the company does. Not everyone.
Jellyvision makes software that helps mostly large employers help their employees choose and use their benefits.
Right.
I think the way to talk about it is we sell math
Yeah.
to stressed out people who would rather be cleaning a toilet or being placed on hold than shopping for benefits. We basically help people buy insurance to cover their families for their health needs.
My wife's been at her same company for 32 years, and every year it's like, oh, we got to go through this, and we know the benefits. It hasn't changed in 30, but everybody hates the process.
A critical component, and people are very irrational with money. So we don't just sell math. Right. We understand the math, and then we try to understand human beings.
Yep.
Who are weird, who procrastinate, who think most expensive means best, right? Wrong.
Right.
Like none of the normal buying cues apply. And then everything in healthcare is horrifically named.
Oh, yeah.
It's like the high deductible plan instead of the low premium plan. Yeah. Or like ICRAs. ICRA is literally the name of a consumer product.
Yeah.
We're like, here's your ICRA. Right. You're I don't want ICRA. Yeah. I think I took antibiotics for ICRA 2 years ago.
Yeah. Well,
it's just like
and
horribly
I get it on the
named.
product, but what you just said of, so be helpful, go from furrowed brow to peace of mind, obviously on the product of making these healthcare decisions, or benefits decisions. But what you just said also applied to the example you had on your culture of that new employee just signed the mortgage per se, has potential anxiety of, did I make the right call?
I'm quitting my job for them. I'm quitting my job for strangers. I am agreeing to go from the height of my power at my current job to the bottom of my power at a new job.
So this tactical thing that you just shared took them from furrowed brow to peace of mind when 10 people at Jellyvision sent them the email, which every company could do, but that's a tactical thing you've put into the culture.
I'll give you one more example, totally stealable, but back in the day when we used to travel and then have to like deal with overhead projectors.
Yes.
It's a technology that would project onto a screen for you before we all had Zoom and the internet.
It was way more complicated than it should have been.
And it would take a minimum, no matter how early we got there, we could never get into the conference room early enough to get set up. So we'd be spending the first 4 to 7 minutes panicked, trying to get the projector to work, and it's
I
awkward.
know you're too young.
I remember fourth grade.
You
okay,
want
I
to get
remember
started.
this.
You want to get started, and you can't get started because you can't project. And you're like, if you get too into your flow, then you got to go back to the slides. And what we started doing is bringing in these very large placemats. In the left-hand corner, it was our names, faces, and jobs. Because when you say the introductions, everybody forgets who everybody is. And all you had to do was look down and be like, well, Amanda.
Yeah.
Well, so that. In the middle was the agenda. We're like, here's the objective of the meeting. Here's why we're here. Here's what we hope to deliver for you. And on the far right was to connect the dot. Just like the dot thing where you would draw from one to whatever. And if we started to really
work with that.
We got a thing. And we watched like C-suite executives of large companies be like, it's an elephant on a ball. I mean, just like trying to like be like, we care about your time. We care. And maybe there are like more productive things than doing a connect the dots. But like, it's in that moment of like, we're stressed, we're awkward. You're uncomfortable watching us be stressed and nervous. We're all just humans.
Yeah.
You made that small moment a better experience by putting a placemat down. I love the thinking.
But it's to cover the load. So it's a design principle. Back in the day when there wasn't broadband web, we would do sheets with art, whatever, so that we could be preloading audio. Yeah. Nobody even knows what that meant technically, but we know how to cover the load. Like we know how to cover the load. So we're covering the load in a meeting. We're covering the load here. Just trying to think through. There's a difference between, the feet paddling furiously under and the duck floating seamlessly on the pond. Like you can try to architect that to ease that furrowed brow. Like it's like, how can we in everything in the way we sell, like we have a plain English contract. That is not
lawyers probably fought you on that one.
Our lawyer who came up with it is a brilliant writer, but it's like it's actually a contract you can read without furrowed brow.
Okay.
We have found our customers don't like it because they're like, it's so weird. I'm like, but it's binding and it's correct. And so they want the here to with wherefore there are it's like
isn't it kind of like the new United Airlines safety video where they're like doing like a ostrich in a farm and you're like, is this the safety video?
Yes.
I don't understand, but it's accomplishing the same thing.
Well, here's the thing. People cannot learn if they're not paying attention.
Yep.
A phenomenal device to get people to pay attention
Different.
is humor.
And
Surprise.
Yeah.
Not be boring.
Yep.
Don't be boring. Don't be boring. Don't be boring. One of our core values. And people can be like, well, I'm not funny. Can I work at Jellyvision? Oh, of course. The opposite of boring isn't funny. The opposite of boring is interesting. You can out teach the competition.
Yep.
And I basically believe, and I mean it, you're not at Jellyvision if you're not interesting and interested. You can be at Jellyvision without being a comedian, but if you were not interesting and interested, you would not get through our process. You would not be a fit at the company. And then we just try to, it's like someone asks like, oh, you're so authentic. I'm messy and I admit it. I mean, it's like if that's authentic, okay.
It is. Have you been on social media? People don't admit that very often.
I do. I like my biggest social media post. Like I've written all these pieces about like trust in healthcare and stuff. No, I admitted I once threw up on a plane in front of an alum and people were like, I'm here for this content.
Yeah.
Anyway, messy, right?
Yeah.
And someone asked, how important is it for CEOs to be messy or authentic rather? And I said, only important in that it gets everyone else to be authentic.
Yeah.
Right.
Because when they're authentic, they'll take risks.
Yeah.
When they're authentic, perspectives of multiple different viewpoints come into the fray. We serve 8 million people. They're not all me.
Yeah.
So they're very different than me. And that's like the authenticity is so that you can be like, I just disagree.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Let's have
Tell me more.
Good. Let's have the conversation.
Tell me more.
Yeah.
So one of the things you're insinuating with a bunch of the driving forces behind the company is so that individuals understand a framework when they're at their desk without somebody over their shoulder to make decisions. Is that intentional? Is that, are you trying to make sure that everybody says, oh, here's my rubric and it helps me move forward faster? Or is that just a byproduct of where you ended up?
It is utterly intentional. For a very long time, and this is tough because we're getting into more and more compliant and regulated industries. For example, Medicare doesn't play. The government tells you what you can and cannot do.
Right.
But I want every policy to say, use good judgment, period, done.
Right.
And if you don't use good judgment, you probably shouldn't be at Jellyvision because then you encumber everybody else using good judgment.
Right.
And if you are using good judgment, you know better what you should spend at that customer dinner. You know better whether they expect a steak dinner or whether they think that's like really disgusting, wasteful spending. What are we paying you?
Yeah.
It's like, you know better about that partner than I do. And you should be a good fiduciary of our customers' money, as we all are.
A lot of that goes back to the hiring process.
Yes, it does. And it's so easy to be like, well, I know what I want, so I'll just tell people. I'm like, don't take away their obligation to think. And I have the Jellyvision has a new president, a gentleman named Brian Meager. He is phenomenal at like, what are you going to do about that problem?
Yeah.
He just puts it right back. It's like, I could be really quick and solve the problem. I have the answer because I've been here for so long. And he's like, you will never free yourself until they own the solutioning.
Yes.
And he's just like puts it back on people. And then people are like, oh, I'll go do the thing.
I'll tell you, this is something I deal with CEOs all the time. And I'm like, if your calendar is so busy because you're solving all the issues, you're not the CEO anymore.
He's really, I actually am learning from him. I learn from all coworkers, all team members, but it's really great to be like, they are capable.
Yeah.
They are capable. And still we care, I really do care about work-life balance. I really don't think I own you. And I really don't think that like I bleed purple. I bleed purple.
And you don't have an issue with your investors with that one? Because that's where I run into the problem sometimes, where I literally am in board meetings in last week where I had an investor say to the CEO of the company, and is everyone working overnight to make this happen? And I was like, come on.
I think that there is enough research right now that everyone working overnight long-term is not productive to building a lasting company.
Right.
It's not. People at NVIDIA are like, I'm burnt out. And they all are driving Lamborghinis and like money stops being enough. They're like, I just need to see my kids.
Yep.
I think happy, healthy people take more risks. I think people who rest have better energy.
Yep.
So maybe you're working 18 hours. How productive are you?
Yep.
For 4 of them? Because you're exhausted and lonely and not energized. So I try to like see people where they are and then be honest about myself. I get a tremendous amount of energy and creativity from being on outside boards.
Yep.
And you might say that comes at the conflict of Jellyvision getting every bit of you. It gets
Way
a
more.
lot of me that is way smarter, has more knowledge,
Yes.
more patterns,
Right.
you know, more network I can call when I need help.
Yeah.
So I am like, expand your mind. And I don't think you just manage time. I think you manage energy.
Yep.
The building blocks.
Let me actually pause on that, because in my last couple of years, my first company, we started talking about kind of this schedule of energy management across the year, because we were a seasonal business. And on the point of these like 18-hour days or like working overnight, there are periods in the year where, because we were so seasonal, at one point it was dubbed winning time. It was like we needed to buckle down. But there had to then be this like almost break or refresh time after that. And we started to figure out like, what are the cadences of energy management?
Yeah.
And I'm not saying we always perfected it, but has that been a case, and how do you kind of approach that with your culture of, are there times where you need that like additional time and then you want to balance it?
A few buckets there. One, energy is first and foremost created by diet, exercise, and sleep. Not creative endeavors. It's like the basic building blocks of energy and health are that. The second is we trust people with their time. If you are like not feeling it, I tell every new hire, don't hide. Just be like, I'm not feeling it. I'm piecing out today, because there will be days where I'm like, I'm sorry, you may not be totally feeling it, but we need you to finish this assignment.
Right.
Yep.
And I trust you when you're out, you've hit your deadlines and you're like, it's slow, I'm just going to go.
Yeah.
And you're going to trust that when I ask you to grind, it really is needed.
Right.
It really, like, it's not all the time. I don't do it capriciously. We really need it.
But that's building trust with the team over the long haul.
Yeah.
And that seems like a bit of a cornerstone of the culture, is that there is not only the hiring process, but then there is a certain amount of trust in the organization across the board in how you do your job, giving you flexibility in when I'm going to ask you to grind versus I get it. You're
but let's like, no company is perfect. It's still a business. We're a venture-backed business.
And it's run by people, which are imperfect.
We have shareholder expectations.
Yeah.
We're profitable. Why do we have to be so profitable? Why can't we pay everybody all of our profit? Like, there's some basic questions where it's like, because we're a business, and you know, it doesn't always feel as squishy as we want it to be. And sometimes there are terrible decisions that are not in the benefit of like the psychological safety of our people.
Right.
For example, we have had layoffs.
Yeah.
And in doing layoffs, we needed to automate, or we needed to outsource, or we needed to bring the cost of some function of the business down compared to the value it was creating. And you're like, yeah, but I know that value are people who need jobs and things like that.
Yeah.
So it's tough. And the thing is, like, do it as well as you can, even if you're sucking.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't walk people out. I think it is cruel to be like, hey, yesterday you worked hard. Today's your last day and you're not allowed to log in and say goodbye to your friends.
Right.
And that went all the way up to our board, where our board, like, that's not normal. That is risk for the business. And I was like, I'm not going to treat people who worked hard like criminals because I failed.
Yep.
I'm not doing it.
Yep.
I, the leader, failed. I'm not going to treat people cruelly. I'm going to give them time to wrap up, to get whatever they need. I trust them to get whatever they need out of their email, to say goodbye to their friends. Do they need a laptop? Give them the laptop if they need a laptop, and then help them get a job.
Yeah.
To be like, I sucked. These people don't.
You have done, I've seen your post on LinkedIn when you had to let people go, saying these people had to be let go. It's not their fault.
Yeah.
How can I help them find jobs?
And even better, it's like, I can matchmake. I'm like, let me vouch for you. And it's like, we do it like years later, people will call and be like, hey, I'm not happy where I am.
What's
I'm
going
always
on?
there. Like you gave us years.
Yeah.
You think I'm not going to give you 30 minutes?
Right.
I am.
Yeah.
Forever.
I can remember in 2020 going through a layoff that Corey was on the board, and I didn't even know you that well, but I called you. I got your number and called you to get advice. And a lot of, I don't even know if you remember that, but that was 2020, maybe a 25-minute conversation. But the reputation, I think, had preceded you in the company of how it had been handled at Jellyvision in the past.
Yeah. And like, it keeps me up at night that I might be known for being good at layoffs, because you're not the only CEO that's called me.
It's about being humane. It's about being humane.
That is like kind of like triggering shame. I feel a lot of shame as a CEO, but it really is. Remember how you made people feel. Think about who you would feel. And I've had hours of debates with our founders. Is it you treat people the way you want to be treated, or do you treat people the way they want to be treated?
Yeah.
And I was like, it's they. You got to start with listening. You got to start with understanding. And he's like, no, that's an impossible standard. It's like, you as a human being use your own experiences. And I was like, no, we've evolved. It's them. And like, that's the stuff we fight over.
So
is what is the standard of care for each different individual? at Jellyvision who's giving us the vast majority of their waking hours.
Yeah, and they see you more than the family if they're
Yeah.
typical company. So we're running short on time. So one last thing.
Yes.
How has post-COVID impacted culture and culture building?
It's very, very different because I am now completely aware that no matter what your mission is, people are not loyal to companies. People are loyal to people.
So true.
And what we have lost is getting together and not working with coworkers.
Yep.
The work is getting done.
Yeah.
The work is getting done.
Those informal relationships.
It's getting it done. But it's that you're ridiculously amazing. I had
Right.
no idea. Or let's go do this thing together. Or the fun. Like I am not going to tell people how or where to work.
Yeah.
I'm not. I like too much trust, too much respect. But like I'm going to do a much better job of being like, everyone in town come to lunch right now.
Right.
Just one quick lunch one day,
Yeah.
Get together. And just like I had lunch today with 5 people and it's like the banter and the people. And it was a mix. I called it
Yeah.
lunch buddies. I'm like, you barely know each other. Come to lunch.
Yeah.
And I get energy and they get energy. And that's the bond companies have is each other. It's never the mission on the
People quit
wall. I don't
people,
buy that at all.
Right? People quit people. If you look at the stats, when someone quits, it's their manager, it's their coworkers.
Yeah.
Oh, wait. Oh, comp, it's down here.
Yeah.
Right? I don't believe in the future of the
Most
company.
forgotten fact in business, according to Chip Connolly, the Airbnb whisperer, the most forgotten fact in business, we're all human. Companies don't buy from companies. People buy from people. Companies don't innovate. People do. So people
Yeah.
get so wrong. Like, what's the structure? I'm like, who are your tinkerers?
Yeah.
No, don't worry about systems. Who tinkers?
Yeah.
Give them time. Like, find out. Like, I can name our tinkerers at Jellyvision. Like, there's a guy named Jake, a guy named Mike. I'm like, give them 10 days.
Let them work for a little bit there.
Yeah, and then they're like system designers, like people who just like meticulously follow process. They won't like an incubation system. It's like messy and muddy. So people are peopling at work. And if you remember that, then you do things to treat people with respect and kindness and caring.
And it sounds you're bringing up a theme that we seem to keep hearing, and that is trust and communication becomes a critical foundation to successful company and culture. So with that, we appreciate you taking the time. Thank you for joining us, Amanda.
Thanks, Amanda.
We'll see you next time.
Thanks, guys.